Get ready to fall in love with Jean Dujardin. You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of The Artist. Meet Jean Dujardin, a cross between Roberto Benigni and Patrick Warburton, or perhaps more accurately, the French Jon Hamm. Yes, he's both funny and charming, France's biggest movie star since Gerard Depardieu, yet we'd never heard of him. Well, a few months ago, I put together an episode of Countdown for The Artist and recommended the comedy franchise that made Dujardin a movie star, OSS 117. I promptly took my own advice and streamed the first one on Netflix, only to end up watching both movies in less than 24 hours. But considering that those movies came out several years ago, what's taken Dujardin so long to cross the Atlantic? Well, the thing is, he can't speak English very well, and apparently doesn't have the drive of Antonio Banderas or Jet Li, who early on in their careers memorized their English lines phonetically. How very French of him. And Dujardin is proud to be French. In recent interviews, he stated that if he doesn't make it in America, he's perfectly happy to remain a star in France. How big a star? Well, he even played Lucky Luke. But he'll still give Hollywood a go, and he's overcome his language barrier by making a silent movie. That's right, The Artist doesn't have a single word of spoken dialogue. Instead, it features a musical score and title cards, just like the original silent films. In fact, The Artist writer-director Michel Hazanavicius worked tirelessly to make the film as true to the old form as possible. And Hazanavicius knows what he's doing, as he also wrote and directed both OSS 117 movies, which look like they were actually made in the 1960s. France has naturally already fallen in love with The Artist, where Dujardin took home the Best Actor prize at Cannes. And the dog in the film also won a top prize, the Palme Dog Award, which is actually a real thing and not a publicity stunt. Now the film has gained traction here in the States thanks to Harvey Weinstein, who's confident he can take it all the way to the Oscars. Question is, will The Artist be another Life is Beautiful, or The Reader, where audiences are left scratching their heads? The answer will rely on whether or not moviegoers value a trip back in time. So today for The Artist, which everyone is naming Best Picture, we're doing a BTT Crew review.
I've seen a lot of silent films that I found kind of boring but had to respect. And when I was watching this movie, I was never bored. They really keep your attention the whole time.
I think that a silent film can hold the audience's attention, and I think that this movie does it quite well, except that the story is too simple.
I thought it was really charming in its simplicity. I mean, it reminded me of growing up watching silent films with my dad, and just there's just something really nostalgic about it. I guess that sort of makes me like it more than everyone else would.
Since there wasn't a lot going on and I could kind of guess what was going to happen, that gave me a lot of free time in my seat to kind of like analyze the movie as I was watching it, and it never really sucked me in for that reason. And made me a very surfacey kind of experience watching it.
I think that if this film had been in color and it had sound, it could have done the same story, and I wouldn't have minded as much. But there's nothing else to focus on, and so it leaves the story up for more scrutiny, and it didn't really hold up very well.
I'm going to disagree with everybody that the story was too simple, because by necessity, the story has to be simple because there's no dialogue. It's all visual, it's all silent. So a lot of silent films they do have fairly simple plots because otherwise the audience wouldn't be able to follow it.
I feel that the actors here were good enough, and I feel that the director was good enough, and I think that today's audiences are sophisticated enough that they could have had a more complicated story and people would have understood it and it could have been conveyed. However, I would have to go with Rick on this one, in that it would not have been a silent film then. It wouldn't have been a true silent film. You just would have made making a modern film with no dialogue.
I definitely think that this is going to be a very big Oscar movie, without a doubt. I mean, it's just kind of worthy of Oscars, I guess, because it's such a tribute to cinema as a whole.
I can definitely see this sweeping the Oscars, or at least getting 2 or 3 awards, because it's such a great tribute to classic Hollywood.
It's an Oscar winner. It's an Oscar-winning film. And to some way, it's engineered that way, which is something that's said about the business and the way the Academy votes. But if you ever want to make an Oscar-winning film someday, take notes.
I think that a Best Actor or Best Actress award would be very, very likely, or at least a nomination, because I mean, it's impressive. You watch. I mean, these people act in movies with sound, and here they have switched over to silent, and so their whole method of acting changes.
I love Jean Dujardin. I think he was very charming in this movie. I really think he's a fantastic actor. I hope he learns English. And so I thought he was great in the movie, and I want to see him continue to do well. So I'm also cheering for him with this movie.
He really, devoted himself to his character and really put it all out there and got back into the old style of acting.
Oh, and that dog was amazing. That dog deserved that award that he won. He was great.
The dog was outrageously adorable. I'm so glad that he had such a big presence in that movie because he really made me happy.
If you're one of those people who doesn't like a silent film or a black and white film, this isn't going to change your mind because this is really designed for people who already love those. I know I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, black and white movie, I would never see that. Don't.
I thought about this long and hard, and I feel the best comparison I can make about The Artist is to Titanic. If you thought Titanic had a great story, then you will love The Artist all the way through 100%. But if you saw Titanic and you were like, I could kind of do without this story, but I really respect the sinking sequence of the Titanic and James Cameron's prowess as a director, then you will enjoy The Artist in that respect, because it's a daring film. Creatively, it's really well done. I just had a big problem with the story.
I can admire the artistic and technical sensibilities behind the movie, but I still think it was geared far too much towards people who already really liked silent films, and there was no appeal for people who either had never seen a silent film or had grown up on newer, more modern movies.
So a very big part of this film, a very big part of the story, a part of the twist at the end is an important part of film history, which apparently nobody talks about. I went to NYU Film, no one told me about this. I've watched a lot of documentaries about silent film, nobody told me about this. Rick happens to know about it. I went to the movie with my parents and my mom knew about it. It's a spoiler though. So Beyond the Trailer will educate you. So if you're interested in knowing and you want to know it before you go to the movie or after, click in the video description of this review, and I'll put the spoiler there, because it really just changes the movie. And I feel that I don't like it. I think just like The Descendants, I think movies have to be careful about asking you to bring a lot to the table. I think that a movie has to exist and stand on its own, and this movie didn't do a lot, I think, to fill in all the blanks on its own. I mean, I couldn't even go back after knowing this and understanding it and really see what I missed. And I think that's a flaw in my opinion.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this movie a 6.
From 1 to 10, I think I would give this movie an 8.
Overall, I would give The Artist a 9.
I think I'd give it a solid 9. It wasn't the greatest movie I've ever seen, but for somebody like me who really can appreciate what they're going for and the tribute they're going for, I really enjoyed it.
So overall, we give The Artist an 8, and you can see it's a movie that really has us talking, which is the sign of, at the very least, an interesting film. I'm Grace Randolph, and I hope you'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.